So our next, well, now here's the thing. Over the last 2 days, we've heard about many strategies and initiatives, and the essence of everything is about, in this unprecedented times, is about communication. So we can't have a better person than Janine Hills. She was, in her heyday, she was the head of communications at FNB. She served on boards as diverse as Ster-Kinekor as well as Kaiser Chiefs. She has advised many organizations in this country and executives on communication and their communication strategies. She has just started, made a bit of a career change, and she started, she's the founder and CEO of Janine Hills Authentic Leadership. Janine, welcome with us. She's also one of the contributors to our book that we recently published. We're looking forward to your presentation here because, I mean, this is one of the critical aspects of managing and surviving through this crisis.
Oh, thank you, Willem. Always great to chat to you. And thank you for setting up everything. And I see you've got a great panel and awesome participants. So I've been watching and listening to a lot of the conversations and awesome content. So, you know, it's awesome when you hear the good content coming through, but it's interesting when we start working with people in a practical way. And you start seeing the challenges coming through on the HR and particularly sometimes on the legal side within corporates. So, you know, we discussed the kind of things that are very important and very relevant in the marketplace at the moment, given the pandemic. And, you know, Willem, what we're really seeing is, you know, when people are closing down divisions or closing down departments, closing down companies, whether it's an offshoot in another African country or wherever it might be, there seems to be a lack of sensitivity that is somehow adhered to. And from a communication point of view, that's crucial. So during this pandemic, you know, we are faced with crisis situations. We are faced with challenges when it comes to technology. But I think we have to remember we're human. You know, I love it when I listen to Sanjana talking about the robotics and all that type of thing. But we have to remember we still have clients who are human, and humans absorb communication differently. And so there's 3 different platforms generally that you must make sure you utilize. So you, Willem, for example, you might want to really just read documentation. I don't. I listen to, I'm audible and I'm visual. So when we're communicating, we need to make sure that we're touching on those different platforms. And if we don't touch on those platforms, that communication is not landing, which means we've missed those people. So we must make sure when we have communication going out, even if you've got a closing down of a department or division or whatever it might be, make sure it's landing. So, I mean, sadly, I've had to assist, you know, Willem, the last couple of months with the closing down of a couple of organizations. And I must say, I've been really impressed with the way the CEOs care for their people. Those are the people that have reached out to say, listen, we really need help. We need guidance. We need to do it the right way. We've got our reputations intact. We might close a business down now, but in future, we might reopen something. So it's when you really care about the culture of human beings and take people through a journey, they seem to look at it. Then you've got other people, and I'm sorry to say, it's when we've got a lot of engineers or chartered accountants leading companies, it's a different mindset. There's somehow, they almost think in boxes and they don't think about the human aspect of what's going on. So the care to actually include the culture of communications is vital. So the 3 aspects of looking at things is when you're closing down a department or a company, make sure you've got the early laggards. So you've got people that will kind of hear it early enough, they'll adapt to the restructuring easier. So, you know, we call them the early adopters, and then you get the bulk of the rest of the individuals in the company coming with you. The challenge you have from a reputation risk point of view, you have to watch your laggards. You always have the laggards. You know, we even watch it, whether it's an event or, you know, even a bus tour or whatever it might be, you always have that one or two people. You know how it goes. It's they didn't read the communication, or they didn't do this, or they didn't arrive on time. You know how it is, you know, Willem. It's just, there's always those one or two. The challenge comes in those one or two or three or four or 10 that haven't read, damage your brand. They are the ones that will actually go on to social media, lambaste the company, and really, really either go legal, go to CCMA, go do whatever. So we have to make sure when we do our communication, and I have, especially in the last 2 months, redone oodles of communication coming through from HR departments, helping restructure the letters to be a lot more sensitive in the way that we land our communication. So if, for example, we're going to retrench people and we're closing down an organization, let's do it with kindness, with gentleness. And the other thing is, think about how you can help that person find another job. I never forget. And, you know, I can talk about all these real practical things, but how do we actually see it happening? And the one day we had to do a closing down, it was 15 years ago, so I can talk about it, was the closing down of one of 2020's divisions when they'd sold their retail arm to Standard Chartered Bank, and Standard Chartered had bought it. And you know the difficulty, they wanted to retrench during December. The scary part was that they didn't want to talk to anybody. They just wanted to give a letter with explanation, pay a check, pay the amount of money, and off people go. People don't relate to that. So the key thing is, let's call everybody into a meeting, engage with them. And we've just done that with a company now that was closing down. We took people into batches, and the CEO and CFOs and HR person spoke them through what we were going through from a journey point of view. So it's a dignity. It's very important that that communication has got to be dignified and respectful. It needs to be clear, concise, and think about it if you were sitting on the other side of that letter, receiving that letter or engaging with those executives. So it has to be humane. Talk with me, don't talk to me. And so it's very much the don't talk down to me. You know, we have this unfortunate part that's the higher we go in organizations and lead organizations, we tend to, in comes the ego naturally, of course, and it's natural. So it's not a natural skill to talk to a receptionist or a cleaner or a young intern. But the thing is that those are the lasting impressions that makes. It also has a long-lasting effect of that brand, if that brand is going to continue. If, say, for example, you're closing down a particular division for downsizing. The other thing is, I think it's perfect right now. I've just helped a legal company redo a letter because they're resizing. And it was interesting, you know, the legal team sent the letter to me, and they're doing all the right things. If at this stage, any company is not resizing and restructuring and re-looking at things, I think they're naive. I mean, they have to be engaging with the marketplace where we are right now. So it's quite natural. They took it upon themselves and they said, oh, you know, it's going to be terrible for the marketplace. Everyone's going to knock us. It's not what we do. And I said, guys, no. In fact, I'm well done. You are ahead of the pack. So it's about the words that you use. So it's the tonality, it's the style of the word, and also to make sure that you are being honest, transparent, and sharing your vision of what you're wanting to do moving forward. And if you are honest and you're transparent and you show your effectiveness and your dynamic ways of doing things to your client will see it in the right way. But often what happens is we leave it just to, like say, for example, an internal communication person. And unfortunately, in my experience over, you know, like you said, heyday, hey, what do you mean in my heyday? I'm still in my heyday. What is it? I'm only 55, you know? So I've still got a couple of years in me, you know? And the thing is, you know, Willem, the big concern I have is that we can't just abdicate the responsibility of communications as HR. We need to take it to heart because it's people. And we chose to work in the HR sector because we're in the people business. So when we are working with people, let's take it all the way through. If we have to send a video to somebody or send a message via WhatsApp video recorded, send it directly to individuals, let's do it. Because you can see the people's eyes. You can see people's faces. You can integrate with people when you can hear them visually, see them visually and hear them audibly, and make sure that you follow that through with a letter as well, so that you become humane. And in fact, it was quite interesting when the client sent the letter out yesterday, they had a phenomenal response. So they've retained all the existing clients. They had a congratulations on looking well done and looking forward, and being preemptive for a particular situation. So, I think a lot of the times we try and outsource this kind of thing. I'm saying is, as HR, let's take it upon our bat. Let's make sure we receive from our communications department what we require. And I mean by briefing them effectively, giving them the kind of tonality that you're after, and making sure that when those letters go out or that communication flows goes out, you are happy with it. Would you like to be the person that's receiving that communication at the end of the day? The reason why I say this, I always think about the humane side of retrenchment. And unfortunately, it's a reality where we sit right at the moment, and it's a lot of retrenchments. But the challenge comes in, we can do these things in a very good way, but also try and make sure you know who and where it's going to affect. And the one thing I never forgot, when we closed down the 2020 department, there was one lady, and at the time we weren't using digital, but we called a group of, at the time it was 120 of the technology people in the Cape Town office together. And Willem, the saddest thing was, I watched this one lady, and I said to everybody, there's going to be one or two we need to watch. This one lady ran out when she heard what was going on, and she went into the ladies, and I followed her through, and this lady just broke down. And in her breaking down, she revealed to me that the very previous day, her husband had just been retrenched. Now, those situations can cause major threats from a risk point of view. And we've got to make sure that we care for people, that you don't get suicides, you don't get suicide threats. This is what also causes, gender-based violence. People don't know what to do. They don't know the solutions. So as corporates, when we do things, I also suggest we have a dial-in call center ready to assist people. Make sure that the humane aspect is there. Talk to a recruitment company. Look at other organizations that are looking for people. I mean, earlier on we were talking about Amazon. Amazon's looking for 3,000 people. We might all as individuals have to reskill for certain things, but the key thing is try and help your employees where you can. Make sense? Yeah?
Janine, thank you very much. That was very thought-provoking and stimulating. Mike, here's a question now. I mean, we focused to an extent on, communicating through the crisis. And in this case, especially when there's restructuring and so on, it's predominantly bad news. How do you communicate? I mean, once you're now into this, it's expected of leaders to provide, they say leaders are traders in hope, to communicate also a message of hope. So how do you do that without creating undue and unrealistic expectations?
So thank you for that. Willem, if I can take this letter that we were just working on yesterday, was exactly, when I got this letter from this legal company, it was completely negative. Everything was negative about it. It was downsizing, retrenching people. I looked at this letter and I phoned the CEO up, and I had a long chat to him, and I said, can I just ask you why and how? Because he just phoned me, he said, Jenny, won't you just review this letter for me? So I said, no, it's not just about a letter. I need to understand, what are you really doing? He got a little irritated with me, Willem, because it's like a bit fast, and he Janine, just look at that. I said, no, hold a minute. And I said, but aren't we re-engineering? So it's a mindset. It really is about a mindset of inspiring with positivity. Now, do you as a leader see your cup full or half empty. And as a leader, yes, we are in challenging times. Oh gosh, are we? And it's, but it's how you carry yourself as a leader. Are you that authentic leader that's able to say, yes, we have got challenging times, but look at the innovation opportunities. So look at, the effectiveness, the efficiency. I love this new way of digital. I used it extensively when I was at eBucks. We've been using this for over 25 years. I haven't had an office for 20 years. So this has suited me perfectly. I am missing the people interaction. So it does have a lot to do with that leader's mindset. But also, I've got a reputation model that I work on, which basically has, 8 pillars, which outlines 8 aspects of building a reputation. And often, at the moment, our business performance is definitely not there. We know that. Our country's performance is not there. It's not due to our country completely, but it's because the world is in a disruptive state. So we have to look and say, out of those 8 aspects, how many are positive? You must only find that you can focus on at least 4 that are already positive, and I can help rebuild. They're never all going to be completely panned out, 8 out of 8. It's just not normal, and not in the way that we're focusing on the world. And the world is kind of journeying us. But what we are being pushed for as leaders, and we are all leaders, whether you're a board member, whether you're a president, whether you lead an organization, whether you're a head of a school governing body, you have to inspire wherever you go. Whether it's your own children at home or whether it's your domestic lady that to help her family. So we as leaders have got to find that inspiration within ourselves and lead forward.
Thank you very much. Don't you want to, let me just see whether there's not a question in the Q&A, not at the moment. I think people have now asked enough questions over the 2 days.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Janine. I think I agree fully with you that this is not a task and a project for the amateurs. They should bring in the real specialists, and I really recommend to the audience that they use you or any other first team player when it comes to communication. Thank you very much for a great presentation and highlighting how important it is to keep touch with the human, and that is the essence of in our communication and our managing of people here over the next couple of months. Well, it should be always the situation. So this brings us to the end of our conference. It's been a first for us and as far as the online sort of platform is concerned. I would really like to get some feedback from you, how you perceive the experience. So over the next few days, I would like our people to make contact with you and to get first-hand feedback. So the bottom line is that we are in unprecedented times, and that it's a once-in-a-lifetime type of situation that we're in. However, we cannot dodge our responsibility in the HR field and as HR leaders to really make a difference here, to really guide the organization through this period of time, to, as Janine said, to focus on the human as opposed to the resource, and try and maintain people's dignity in this tough period. It's time for leaders to, in the words of Nancy Cohen, it's time for them to show up. You've got to be there and among them. And it's time to really bring hope as well. There is still a future. There's always a tomorrow. And that means that there's hope. So I hope that during the 2 days, the presentations that we listened to, I thought they were great. If you take the combined content, it's extraordinary. And thank you to all the speakers and for putting together great presentations. And I think take this knowledge, reflect on it, and guide your organizations, your department through this. There's a lot of work to be done within HR departments. As Mariana's mentioned this morning, a lot of work to be done in order to become more adaptive, to really set the scene for the whole organization. And to you all as the delegates, thank you very much for being here and supporting us during this period of time. We really appreciate that. And lastly, I would like to thank Debbie. She put the program together. She babysat. She was now what Laurie is referred to, our engineer during the 2 days. And and also to Katie, who's a backup engineer, to look after the technical side. Once again, thank you very much. We appreciate you being with us for the 2 days. Enjoy the ride further. It's going to be tough, but all storms will run out of water at one or other time. So take care and goodbye.